Gnomeo and Juliet tells the story of two ceramic gnomes from neighboring gardens who fall in love despite a long-standing rivalry between their yards.
Loser! Those blasted reds!
The lovers hide their affection as long as they can. But eventually war is declared and a happy ending seems impossible.
He's a blue.
She's a red.
It's a doomed love, and that's the best kind.
Gnomeo and Juliet updates Shakespeare's classic tragedy for a younger audience, exploring the importance of love and the dangers of prejudice. We're here to discuss Gnomeo and Juliet. We've all just seen it, so let's talk about the story. What do you guys think?
Well, what we have here is Romeo and Juliet, and it's a comedy, and it's garden gnomes.
Gnomeo!
Juliet, I just wanted to see you again.
I'm gonna need you to cover. If my dad asks, just tell him I'm washing my hair.
Garden gnome.
Garden gnomes. And admittedly, it sounds like an absolutely awful premise. So you have...
No, it doesn't.
Okay, fair enough. But what you have, you have Romeo, who's the blue gnomes, who are the Montagues, and you have Juliet, who are the red gnomes, who are the Capulets, and their owners hate each other, and so they kind of take this animosity over the garden fence.
It's a very cute movie. I don't know that I could ever think that anybody could turn a Shakespearean tragedy into a comedy, a children's animated comedy, but leave it up to Elton John.
Good, he butchers his own songs for the sake of it. Which is
I disagree.
Well, but I think it's curious, though, to see how well children are going to grasp Romeo and Juliet. I think it's they'll get the warring thing. I think that's interesting. But the very Britishness of the story, I don't know that it's going to translate.
I'm pretty sure the entire thing is just the incestuous rape of British culture.
It's a kid's film, and it's an animated film, and it's garden gnomes. It works.
What's at stake for a garden gnome? It's cute, it's fun. But if you want it to be long-lasting, if you want it to go into classic territory, if you're talking about, you know, elevating the game, I gotta give a shit. And right now, I'm like, gnomes are delicate. They break, you replace it, right?
Well, let's talk actually about the writing, because I think some of what you're talking about is really about the execution of the premise and what are some of the things that worked and didn't work. Do you guys want to weigh in on that?
Well, as far as writing goes, whenever you're structuring or writing an animated feature, you basically have to make it work for both parents and kids.
Lady Blueberry.
Your tulips are looking a little limp, aren't they?
I don't like what you're incinerating.
So there's enough stupid kid stuff going on to keep them entertained. But what I like about the writing is it knows the Western canon really well. It knows it's Shakespeare.
Parting is such sweet sorrow.
She does the whole Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo? And all of a sudden he's listening. He's like, oh, sweet Jesus, did I actually say that? Were you here the whole time?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
that's how
humor.
That's how I felt, because throughout the whole thing, because every time I watch a movie or anything based on Shakespeare, I always feel like people don't speak like that. No, not at all. But this one, I felt the dialogues were really, really realistic.
Call me.
I think that the writing was fine and it was clever and it was lots of puns and
It's
gags.
really witty and it's got wordplay. It's all great.
But I think that the writers didn't really believe enough in their own creativity, because there are far too many, as far as I'm concerned, far too many references to other films, ripping off lines and sequences from other films.
And they don't even.
The Matrix reference.
The Borat one was not.
I felt more, the more critical thing around the writing more than the pop culture references was the fact that it introduced elements that didn't actually eventually integrate at the end. Like, for example, I think when we talked about this earlier, the orchid is introduced as a big symbol of their love, but doesn't get paid off in the end.
That one scene where they meet for the first time and they fight over the orchid, which is supposed to convey that he's athletic and she's independent and they both love each other. The movie just sort of stops for a second and doesn't go anywhere. And then it doesn't, as you say, doesn't get paid off. So do we count that as part of the direction?
What exactly does an animation director do?
The director of an animation project, similar to live action, coordinates multiple departments. It's just the order of where they shape story happens differently. So there's a lot of stuff that happens on the front end in terms of storyboarding, and then that gets executed across the animation pipeline.
I think in terms of thinking from a traditional live action perspective, I think the director did a really good job of drawing performances, voice performances from the actors.
Well, which isn't hard because you have the royalty of British acting percolating throughout that film. It's kind of an amazing cast when you think about it.
It's an incredible cast. I mean, you have James McAvoy and Emily Blunt in the leads.
Maggie Smith.
Maggie Smith.
Ozzy Osbourne in there.
Hulk Hogan.
Terraforminator.
And then Elton John kind of shows up, but not really.
I was really happy it wasn't Orlando Bloom.
Let's talk really specifically about the use of the score and other elements, because it's such a critical part of what sells this movie. At least it did for me. So do you want to say that again?
As I said, it feels a bit. Well, it feels very similar to a jukebox musical, like Mamma Mia, where you take all the songs from ABBA and you kind of wrap a story around them, and you try to make the songs fit this trajectory you want to go on, but it doesn't really work.
Thank you.
But I want to go back to Chuck's point of it being a step back, because I think visually it does feel like a step back.
In what way, though?
From Pixar, from production value standpoint.
I still think you guys are like missing the point, though.
Which is what?
Is that like if you like this movie could look fucking phenomenal, it's still about fucking gnomes.
So everyone, can we please take your tickets? Take your tickets.
Fine.
Okay, so we've all just seen Gnomeo and Juliet. Do we see it, stream it, or skip it?
I think it's a movie that surpasses the sum of its parts. Movies can be clever and funny like this, but I think very few are witty. So, see it.
Yes!
And for me, I feel like the first 20, 30 minutes were kind of slow, but you picked up, and I really enjoyed it. It was very lighthearted, and it was really fun. So, see it from me, too.
Yes.
I felt like, yeah, I want to know what's at stake. Why do I care about the garden gnomes? But it was fun. It was a fun activity, a fun afternoon. Yes, I think you should see it.
Woo! Bitter Betty over here. Go ahead, give it. We know what you're going to do.
It's just about fucking gnomes.
And that's what it is.
So negative.
Okay, so we've got 3 see it. So it is a see it for Gnomeo and Juliet.
All right.
I think that's a chin-chin from
That's democracy.
Chin-chin.